All right. Let's try to get into this whole thing about the Big Bang not really being the main uh, thing in physics. The fact that they are trying to just, I'd say, get rid of singularity. Uh, it's just been maybe a weird week, and just noticing change, of fluctuation in people's demeanor, which I don't know, getting used to different people or what have you, people never changing, that sort of thing, trying to cut ties with people. Uh, and then even getting into how it's recognizable in Buddhism, at least Tibetan Buddhism. I don't know about the whole racist theory that the Greeks invented Buddhism or whatever, but just the whole. I mean, I'm not too sure that any religion is really too original, but yeah, Caucasians probably did most of the, I don't know, enveloping different cultures and ethnicities into some particular religion, at least. Um, some type of way, just through drug and food importation and exportation, and starting the global economy. That's sort of what Guns, Germs, and Steel, the book, is about. Or but there's other books too. Anyway, other one called High Society. Uh, just the whole anthropology thing and evolution. But you have this discourse in Buddhism where they're talking about actual literal many worlds, and how they get into basically just the Google definition is negative interpretations. To me, when I understood it, I just understood it as, well, yeah, it's a different reality thing. It goes along with the quantum mechanical theory, the quantum theory, I'd say, back in the day, and the metaphysical thing, the metaphysical truth. Um, So it's these people, really, I'd say, their desire for like metaphysical purpose, um, and just disbarring anything above that. Just self, yeah, self-interested way, and they um, propose it as just this metaphysical reality, and it's just their servitude and their appreciation for their servitude in the complete sense that we really are not doing anything productive. That is, unless we are growing, planting, uh, excavating food, whatever we need to do for food, agriculture, just those mere things that got us into civilization. However, um, we have machines and just huge work laborers using oil or natural resources to serve almost 8 billion people, to push what used to be maybe finite or dysentery. Except now we have this big, huge social dilemma. And yeah, so people just serving that. So I mean, I wanted to get into just different things, but yeah, it's kind of come down to this. I still am not totally convinced that all this stuff is religious, the metaphysical, like not even the metaphysical, but just the way that these people are selling many worlds, the way that they are, however they're doing it. I mean, they're just selling this stuff. So it's not really in my interest to call people out on uh, that, since it just seems people never stop doing it. It's just when the time comes to uh, uh, commit an act of harm, do you do that to someone uh, that is totally, I guess, that has just completely like infantile, futile beliefs?
Previously encountered in physics, in science. He said the wave associated with a particle like an electron is a wave of probability. A wave of probability. He says that the wave is actually describing the likelihood that the particle, the electron, is at one location or another still. So if I now draw a little picture of the wave associated with a single electron, the idea is
I'm not totally opposed to a particle wave duality if there's a indifference between a frequency and a particle, but they really don't uh, put it out like that. But I'm just saying, in terms of inflation theory overtaking Big Bang theory, I mean, that should have pretty substantial implications, especially when it's just kind of unbelievably trite that they're going to turn the universe into a banking system or an economic system, and uh, it's just going to have to get that low. And unfortunate for people to realize that we're in some debt universe, and we won't make it out of this. We won't get out of the solar system because we have to pay our debts to our we have too many debts to pay in the multiverses or something. And although this might open some honesty up, I mean, it seems like it was or it's we're heading into a bit of a honesty crisis. It's still not happening, and I for sure don't think that it would happen completely by surprise. I just see it going piece by piece. Because it really, I mean, just in terms of oil crisis, people really are just still way too in their own little cell, or their own little grift or grab, or however they're selling their book, especially these nerdy uh, people, just these physicists and stuff like that. Um, I mean, these people are really selling their stuff hard, and it's just sad every time I look at it.
places where the wave is big are locations where the electron is likely to be found. Locations where the wave is small, unlikely to find the electron there, and places where the wave is zero, you will not find the electron at all. And wonderfully, it's not just an idea. The guy who was on the left in that previous slide, Schrodinger, he came up with an equation. You don't need to understand the symbols in here, but the point is there's a mathematical formula, an equation, that allows us to determine how this wave will change over time, how it will evolve.
Again, I've seen the formula. I'm not too opposed against this stuff if that's what they're using it for, but they really are selling books with this stuff or getting funding with these equations and billions and billions of dollars. And yeah, just the everyday common law thoughts, especially with COVID-19 and quarantine, just in general, has proposed a lot of people to think about a a oil crisis or a transportation crisis or a food crisis, overpopulation, what have you. And yeah, so I'm not opposed to these. I'm not opposed at all to these equations. I just, I'm not opposed to the people doing math and their antimatter or their counter space equations, because even people that are against the equations are still uh, they're still in favor of committing this lie that we're going to somehow get by off of just different types of energy. And yeah, it's maddening.
And with that mathematical understanding of this probability wave, we can make predictions, testable predictions, right? The idea is if you have a probability wave for a given experimental setup, if you run that experiment over and over and over again, you should find the electron at one location versus another in a ratio that's proportional to the wave heights. So let me give you a little example of that. Simple version. Imagine this simplified blue curve is the probability wave.
And they're still not going to be able to get rid of quantum gravity or gravitational waves with inflation theory, because everything is the exact same as it was before. There's just no beginning. There was just no beginning. Um, so subatomic particles or elements, the chemistry involved is just sort of secondhand compared to just this singularity idea. Obviously,
Describing where an electron is. If that little x represents one measurement of the electron's position, you found it at that location. The idea is if these ideas are correct, if you continue to run identical versions of this experiment over and over and over again, each time measuring the electron's location and putting a little x where you find it, then the number of x's at any given location should ultimately fill out the shape of the wave. And indeed, if you do that, run this experiment over and over again, measuring the position of the particle in each run of the experiment, keep on going, and over time, the measurements that you find will fill out the predicted ratios. Where the wave is big, you find the electron many times there. Where the wave is small, you find it fewer times. And over there,
I guess that, I mean, I don't even really want to debate this. Um, but yeah, like I said, they'll still be able to keep the gravitational wave uh, in terms of it just being inflation. That won't change anything. Uh, but it just seems like the last straw. I've heard of cosmic inflation. I mean, it's a reasonable idea, but just the whole name. Um, let's see where they go with that now. I just, saw the article a couple days ago.
no, that's nonsense. Objects can't be two places at once. There's no experiment in the world that has ever had a readout that
I just don't mind the idea of a duality that exists within itself. Like everybody in their own reality. It's not a terrible naturalistic, you know, gain. I mean, it is better than religion It's any religious notions at all. But yeah, if they've spread it around in terms of the many worlds interpretation and how we have to have positive realities and things like that, or just because something has a positive turnout, just because of reality has a positive turnout, meaning that it has to happen. I mean, um, obviously, people would grasp to just an idea like that just in term, just to just for survival at this rate. I mean, just the occupancy, the survival mechanism being money, just physics being an art form, and education just in general, just improving your artistic liberal arts, and not necessarily anything more than that, other than to do sort of community neighborhood watch things. And it's really not getting in terms of the nitty gritty of what education, university education is actually giving. That's all it is really producing is just better neighborhood watch type activity, like in terms of the future and what that would mean, holocausting ourselves and the extinction of animals and planetary boundaries and what people are actually doing. They're not going to be doing an art form, maybe passing on some literature or ideas, but it's not going to be anything more than that if they're lucky, if they're lucky enough that there is some culture left.
Was confused and said the electron is on the left side or the right side. The electron is at Belvedere, it's at Union Square. That has never happened. Every time we ever measure the position of an electron, we find it at one definite location or another. Whereas this little example, using the basic math of quantum theory, says that the detector should be confused, but it never is. Somehow, the act of observation is able to disambiguate every situation.
And this is just getting back into the whole racism, created religion, uh, and the whole Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas. The observation is a big thing in meditation and just the Hindi culture, the Hindi people observation. I mean, it's when it's been brought to the West and you these things have become westernized and you kind of understand. Okay, well, yeah, physics is just getting around in terms of religious occupancies, thought occupations, and so yeah, it's crumbling.
Might strike you as interesting or curious, but I think it really hits home when you realize every decision you've ever made amounted to particles moving one way or another inside of your head, right? Every decision you've ever made to go left or right involved a decision, certain firings in your brain, and certain actions of your body. According to quantum mechanics, because the other choices that you didn't select were there as viable outcomes, they do happen. If you chose to say yes in one.
That's not according to the equation. People, you can't say that honestly. Uh, Again, these are supposed to be the greatest minds on the planet. These physicists, and this is the art form they're taking on. This is the art they're giving. This is the acting that they are committing, and it's it really it is. Um, they're just they're becoming jesters for the king, and it's not as bad maybe in other places like it's not as bad as politics in Europe or something, for example, but it's that bad where it's becoming a matinee and uh, just a display, art display, performance arts, and yeah, it's not doing anyone any good when they take the stuff literally. But the fact that things can be passing you by when you're in the act of doing something, that's totally fine. But yeah, they take this the particle thing. I'd say way too heavy, and I'd say it was never really meant to be taken that heavy. I mean, when someone is actually uh, being puppeteered, you could say like Einstein, uh, or just totally endorsed and funded and sort of turned into a poster child for a particular cause or subject, case, what have you. I mean, those people will have made their made it happen, I should say, because yeah, it's not like Elon Musk is going to be in books or anything like this for just being a business head, or nobody's really coming up with an Einstein theory. There's not going to be another Einstein, particularly. Like we are outdoing ourselves. No one, no one in primary school knows who Richard Feynman is. So you only know that through social media.
World, you chose to say no. They are as real as any moment that we consider to be the present. Einstein himself famously said that the distinction between past, present, and future is only an illusion, however persistent.
Yeah, I don't think Einstein ever said anything serious to anyone in his life, was, although he seemed incredibly gifted and just a very simplified way of putting the Schrodinger effect or the Schrodinger cat, is it alive or dead thing into proportion. I think that was done incredibly well. I mean, did they do it? Was it overdone for its time? That's highly debatable. I'm just saying now we can understand something like that. I mean, 100 years from now, are we going to be thanking, Elon Musk or for whatever, just AC generators? I just don't see it. So super determinism.
Simplifies your theory. And in science, a simplification is always a bonus. And it's basically because you can use the detector setting in your theory instead of caring about all the details of the initial state of the detector, that the theory is not fine-tuned.
This argument, maybe he can try and clarify that a bit. I'm not sure I followed the details of that.
So the way that I've come across the fine-tuning argument a great many times.
I don't know. Just perfect the calculations of what they consider. Well, yeah, I'll wait for her to say something.
Is that you would have to get the hidden variables to be just exactly right to fit to all possible initial states that would lead to the same detector setting, because the experimentalist could call their grandmother and ask what she had for lunch and then choose the setting accordingly. And I'm saying this is all completely irrelevant. If you look at the actual model, you never need to know those details to actually make a prediction. The only thing you need in the model to make a prediction is the measurement setting at the time of measurement. And now you can say, well, but we don't actually know this. To which I would say that's entirely correct, but we always have this problem, also in normal quantum mechanics. We don't actually calculate the measurement setting from the initial state in the laboratory. What we do instead is we make a prediction for all possible measurement settings, and then we compare our prediction with the setting that we actually choose. And that's exactly the
Right. So again, LIGO should be detecting earthquakes or natural disasters. It shouldn't be trying to, uh, I don't know, state its time and place in the universe, in the inflation, in the cosmic inflation.
same thing you do in a superdeterministic theory as well.
So it's to rephrase a bit, the measurement setting itself is like, and maybe this is using language that you wouldn't use, but it's effectively screens off all of the stuff that you might use to choose the measurement setting from the system itself, right? So it acts as a sort of screening off, and we do the same thing with, in a more conventional way with preparations. When you talk about the preparation of a quantum state, you end up you can just use the quantum state itself, and all of the details of the device that was used to prepare it are irrelevant.
All right, I'll try to see where she seems like she's got a decent head on her shoulders. I mean, where's she going to go with this? I mean, I'm not really going to be impressed by space uh, expectancy. I mean, is she going to talk about, basically, yeah, it comes down to, are they going to talk about time travel or not? And if they don't talk about time travel, or if they don't talk about something insane, then they're okay. But yeah, until these people grasping at straws, these people grasping onto this stuff that just is so ingrained, indebted, uh, so registered for corruption, uh, corrupted idealism, if it's pointing towards the positive direction, and that they try to make something philosophical, that try to make something baffling into philosophical, when it needs to be simplified, uh, not stated behind the word super, not putting super in front of every single word, every single objective thought they have.
People on the planet who perfectly understands the psi-epistemic distinction and exactly what all the consequences are and so forth. But I have to deal with people who don't understand this and who then don't understand how my model works.
Right.
Okay, and
Again, what is the point of having just distinctions? I mean, I guess you can talk over women a little easier, but what is the point of having these spatial distinctions and different theories of what their gravitational concept is? It's a fourth dimension. You can't just even you could say you could you just there's so many like things you could just kind of so much jargon you could use just to sort of describe the fourth dimension. It's not even worth it. Like these people trying to describe their fourth dimension, really.
they think it's been ruled out
And now it's going to dig into inflation and economical definitions. I think it is that bad.
by the PBR theorem, and I have to explain that no, that's not the case, because confusing as it sounds, according to the definitions used in this theory, the theory, even though it's an ensemble, is actually psiontic. And then they're like, well, that can't be. So you see, this is where the confusion comes from, and the paper's trying to address this confusion. Like you said this as an aside in a sentence, like it's kind of obvious that you can solve the measurement problem this way or the other way, but I think to the vast majority of people that's not obvious at all.
That may be true.
Yeah, I mean that's a definite fair thought. I just yeah, if these people are selling books and these people are selling books, but just in terms of them being the smartest, most brilliant people, um, the inventors, the not the philanthropists, but just the slave, the hive mind of people that are meant to drive common thought somewhere different, than somewhere better, just in terms of scientists, physicists mostly, or just people, big names in science, trying to drive a society to a better notion. I don't think that's the worst notion that there is a, well, there's like this way of thinking, but that's not going to get you anywhere. And I think these people understand that, but they have to sell it, and yeah, that's my discourse.
I mean, there's certainly. Oh. So Lydia Del Rio in the
That's why I proposed to call it a psi ensemble instead of being a psi epistemic. And the wave function really just describes.
Again, she's going to, I mean, that is a very beautiful name. I mean, it's the whole turning, uh, they say as, asymptotic, 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 like there's no asymptotes or there's no geographical. There's no like geographical plane playing ground really. Like there's no coordinates that we can sum up. Like we just have to kind of have our own little theory of space. I mean, it's a good construct against religion. It is because in its way, it is perpetrating the whole idea that like we don't need a religious theory. We have something better, and it is pessimistic in that sense. And just because people are enslaved to being optimistic about it, or selling books for it, I don't really see that as. I don't think I'll ever see that as a real problem until push comes to shove. And though just because I have no faith in people, I have no hope in people changing. But in terms of the discourse, yeah, it's it's never that impressive. I mean, it can be in waves, but there is a lot of foul play just going all around. So, but it's yeah, it's something to surmise. It's something to think about. It's better to think about than religion, and people will still go back to religion, and people will say that physics is full of mathematics and it's not science, and just have nothing good, not one thing to say about science, and be back in religion, um, and can say every negative thing about science. So there are good things, there are good qualities with physics and science, and the whole idea of just turning away from a religion is pessimistic in general. So I prefer that over a hor- just horrific reality. Uh, except, yeah, people won't get that, and they're enslaved to their optimism. So that's why they have to keep selling it. Yeah.